Welcome to today's quick tech talk. We're chatting with Yulia Berge from Central Valley High School, and she's going to share some tips to help us power up and maximize the Google Suite, specifically how we interact with Google to help us save time and help give better feedback to our kids. So thanks for taking the time to show us these great tips.
Yes, certainly. I really enjoyed technology, and I think Google Classroom has been a huge help to tackle different classes and to stay organized and to manage student responses. So I just wanted to share some of those efficiency tools that I have developed and really started to love that I feel like make teaching so much more, I don't want to say not complicated because it's still very demanding, but just more easier to tackle because you just feel like you're staying more on top of a daily challenge.
Instead of an annoyance, the goal, right, is to make the technology make it so that we can work smarter, not harder and longer.
Exactly right. So here are some of the tools that I wanted to highlight in Google Suites. It's Google Drive, Google Forms, Google Docs, and Google Sheets. And I just wanted to show how those tools can really be used to make teaching a lot more efficient. The first thing that I'm using a lot is the comment bank. And there is a tech girl, her name is Alice Keeler, and she has a really great blog to follow. And she talked about using Comment Bank in Google Classroom to make grading easier. And if you've heard of Rubrics, I've looked into that, and that just seemed to be a little bit more complicated to me. This is a great tool that is right there in Google Classroom. So what it looks like is like this. You have to actually use Google Classroom, and you have an assignment just like this. And on your right-hand side, you can pre-record comments that you can just copy and paste into your sheet. Because a lot of the times I highlight the same errors like check your MLA style or, ooh, here's a fragment. And with Comment Bank, I have those pre-written comments.
That must save so much time.
Yes. And what I did is I created a comment folder in Google Drive. And in that folder, I added some resources. And when students click on the link, they get a mini lesson on how to fix verb tense errors. So that way I don't have to constantly reteach, but I can greatly differentiate my comments and make them much more valuable to students by having them just have a quick lesson on Google Classroom about how to avoid this mistake.
Oh, that is much smarter, not harder, because you're saving yourself time of giving feedback. You're still highlighting that, but feedback now becomes an instructional tool, not just, hey, you have a run on here.
That's right. And in this document here, I also linked my comment folder or just a few examples of some of the things that I'm using because it's super helpful. You know, a lot of times I even see problems with MLA style.
Mm-hmm.
The header is incorrect, or it's not double spaced, or the title is like way too big, or, you know, just some minor things. And instead of always pointing them out, I can just make a quick comment that says, check your MLA style, and oh, that was the wrong comment, sorry. And then they can just quickly go into that. This one was on citing sources, and notice what they did wrong and correct it. And it's not just for English, you know, even if you have a social studies class and your students, you don't really look at, you know, grammatical mistakes, but you're looking at, you know, did my students really explain their answers and did they expand on what they're thinking? And if you're always typing the same thing, that takes a lot of time. But if you use Comment Bank, You have all of those pre-written, and all you have to do is copy and paste.
Even if you don't teach writing, and maybe even more so, if you're any other subject area, take a look at her comment folder, because that she might be able to provide some tips that would really help you as a teacher, a social studies teacher, a science teacher, a math teacher, a health teacher who is grading a paper. And instead of you creating these comments that maybe are not quite your expertise, this is a way for you to use those things that an English teacher has already created.
Yeah. And there's another source linked right here that explains how to set up Google Classroom comment bank.
This takes you through how to add a comment, how to create your comment bank, things like that. Some of you will probably be able to just figure it out by looking at a document in your Google Classroom. But if you need a little bit more support of just step-by-step instructions, that was a great helpful hint.
Another tool that I find very helpful is Flubaroo. I'm pretty sure everyone that uses Google Classroom has probably created a quiz like this one on the monkey's paw before. And I know that Google Forms can convert to a graded quiz, and you put in the answers and it'll analyze it for you. But I myself find that a little bit more inefficient than actually using the add-on Flubaroo. And I linked a video here, and actually the Chrome App Store that talks about how to add Flubaroo. It's super simple. All you have to do is you click on add-ons and find the extension, and then you find Flubaroo. And what Flubaroo does, it links to actually your response sheet. And whenever you have a quiz like the one I just showed you of the monkey's paw, you get a response sheet list. And what I do is I go through it myself and I submit it as the answer key. And once it loads here, Flubaroo adds a different sheet that's called grades, and it analyzes all the quiz submissions. It shows me exactly who got which question wrong, and maybe even which questions were a little bit more difficult than others. And the neat tool here is that I can go to my Flubaroo add-on and I can email out those grades to my students, so they get immediate feedback. And when I do that, I can even choose if I want the answer key to be included or not. Maybe I'm deciding that they should retake it, and then maybe I just want to highlight the questions that were incorrect. But overall, Flubaroo is a really, really great tool, because all you have to do is 2 clicks and you're done.
I really like the column where you can see, the 100%, 100%, 75%. And obviously, if this was a larger quiz, or if something, like if you had a series of math problems that you were doing as an opener for the day, kids, you could go in and immediately see how the students did and where you need to start your instruction. So this would be a great way. The kids take a quiz at the end of Monday. You look at it because it's so easy to generate this, and then that helps guide you for Tuesday of where are you going to start, because you start where the kids really did the worst and then can break down why was that happening, or use it to create breakout groups, because you can see who did get it correct, and maybe they can help teach the other students, or vice versa. They can move on to something else, and you can work with those kids who need a little bit more support. That instant email feature is also really slick.
Mm-hmm. And this shows you how these tools don't just make your teaching more efficient, or let's say your time management more efficient, they also make your teaching much more differentiated, because in with such little effort, you can come up with great results that help you to differentiate your teaching much more. And that is, that is really the key to addressing all of your students' needs in the classroom.
That's great. And like you said, with the comment bank, you're also giving more specific and more timely feedback to those kids.
That's right. Because if I was to sit down with each of them in conference and tell them, you know, this is what you did wrong, this is what you did right, it would take a lot more time. And I would definitely do that on bigger assignments, but not on every single homework assignment. But with a comment bank, I can virtually do that, and I don't have to spend my instruction time going over that. And here's the last tool that I wanted to share. It's called the missing homework or missing assignment sheet, and it's really wonderful. I learned about it on this site. And potentially what it is you create a Google form that just basically means you're creating a quiz on Google, like the monkey's paw quiz. And I called it the missing assignment form. Students choose their name. It's a drop-down menu. They type in their parents' or guardians' names. Then they enter this. And I have them look up their current grade. And then they type for me why they didn't do their homework. So every time there is a missing assignment, I tell them to fill out the missing assignment form. And it doesn't take any time. I mean, this is the form that you're seeing right here. So as long as other kids check their grades or their assignments or their comments that are left with the comment bank, someone that didn't do it can quickly fill out the form. And what it does is it generates an email and a letter that is automatically sent to their parents. I don't have to do anything about email addresses or sending the email because I set that up at the beginning of the year. All I have to do is click one button, and then parents get an email. This is the letter that they get, and the header is always the same. The text is always the same, but then it auto-fills all of those blanks that students filled out. So it says, "Dear," and then the parent's name. "I would like to tell you that I failed to hand in my English assignment. My grade dropped 2. Here's why. I was too busy playing blocks." And then they actually sign it. It has the timestamp and the date. And let's just say not a lot of students get their homework more than once or twice in a row in my class, because it's so effective to communicate with parents and to keep them in the ballgame. And they are just such great supporters of their kids' education that it really is helpful to keep them in the loop. And I'm sure every school uses Gradebook or PowerSchool or something alike, and that's great, but this is a personal email from your account to the guardians every time there's a missing assignment. And it's not too complicated to set up, but it's super effective.
I could see why a student would not want their parent instantly having an email telling them, "I didn't turn in my homework." Also, like you said, it's better communication with parents, and it's also helping, I would think, stimulate that conversation between parent, guardian, and student of getting that done. So you set this up at the beginning of the year, you have that all laid out, and that how we got rid of missing homework excuses with Google Forms article, that walks you through how to do those steps. And then it's just ready, right? I mean, for the whole year, it's just good to go.
Yes, and all you have to do is click one button and it's emailed.
See? Smarter, not harder. Well, I can see why you are a Google Classroom and just a Google tool proponent, because these are really slick and pretty simple to use. All 3 of these tools are pretty direct and simple to integrate into what you're doing, to add on a little bit of work up front to play with them and get your comments set up, or get Flubaroo added, or set up your quiz and your letter home to parents template. So a little bit of work on the front end, but man, massive time saver and increased communication with parents and students on the back end.
That's right. Yes, exactly.
Well, thanks for highlighting those 3 different tools. If anyone has questions, is it okay if they reach out to you of how you're using those things?
Yeah, sure, that'd be fine.
Great. All right, we'll share Yulia's little resource deck with you so you can see some of those examples of how that is set up. That link is in the chat description. So good luck and keep making Google work for you.